Monday. I promise I have clothes other than this sweater. I just don't wear them. Finley has brought me his bean muffin toy. There's a story behind it, but I won't tell you today. Do you ever have days where you just feel like there's no possible way to keep up with the demands of life? That's today. That's today for me. Let's see what we're going to talk about. Oh man. So, yeah, this is a story about the time I thought I had all of the answers to every question in life, which was triggered by getting an NAD infusion. I'm sure most of you have heard of or just know of the existence of like med spa type places where you can get like IVs. I know a really popular one is like, I forget what it's called, like Meyer cocktail or something like that. Basically you can just go to get like different like vitamin C IVs or different nutrient IVs. You could do glutathione, you can do NAD. Technically, I think it's like NAD plus. That's the like official redox form of it. Whatever, who cares about chemistry? Nobody, not me. I don't care about chemistry. But yeah, anyway, I went to one of these med spa places a few times a couple of years ago because I was reading about also IV. The technical term would be infusion. IV is like the way that they infuse it. Whatever, we're not being specific today. It's Monday. But yeah, I got a few different things. Oh, there was one that was called, I think they called it, oh my gosh, it's freaking Animal Chaos. Always. I swear if you knock that down, I will murder you. Yeah, they had an infusion called like the autoimmune cocktail. So I got that once. It had like a bunch of different B vitamins in it, and I think it had glutathione and some other stuff. But what I really wanted to go for was these NAD infusions because I read like one or two papers that talked about it being potentially useful for, I want to say it was bipolar. It could have also been insomnia. I would have to go back and look. I'm not going to do that today. But yeah, there was some reason to believe that this might be useful for one of the health concerns that I was dealing with at the time. And you know, why not try it? Why not? So I went to get this infusion, and over the next 3 or so days post infusion, my mood and mental state followed a sort of like bell curve trajectory where the peak of the experience I'm about to describe happened probably like about a day, like a full 24 hours post infusion, and then kind of tapered off. But during this time, I felt what I can best describe now as probably mania, but it was a combination of intense clarity, intense gratitude, and intense like peace. Like just this overwhelming feeling that everything would be okay. It was like my rules for this month, this challenge, were to just not find out what I'm going to be talking about until I start recording. So that kind of limits me on like what external resources I can pull in. So I'll probably do an updated video at some point in the future where I share like some of my journal entries from this time, because obviously I'll be able to describe it better if I can read exactly what I wrote. But yeah, it was a very, very positive feeling, basically euphoria. But I also it felt like, I remember describing it to somebody as like a Rube Goldberg machine, in my brain, sort of. That's not a great analogy. More like one puzzle piece like dropped into place. Can you stop? We're just having all the animal chaos at this time. It felt like one puzzle piece of like clarity about how the world works, dropped into place, and that triggered just in like an infinite cascade, like domino effect of further clarity of like how things work. I did not eat much or sleep much during this time, like during these few days, because it felt like it just felt like everything in the world made sense to me. And to the extent where I was like, I have to just like write all of this down. So I would be like trying to go about my day, eating or sleeping or doing other normal life things, and my brain would be like hounding me like, I have the answer. I have the answer or the explanation or just some really immense wisdom about this one particular topic. You have to go write it down. So I probably wrote like, I don't know, thousands and thousands of words over these like 3 days. A lot of it on my phone, a lot of it on my laptop. Yeah, I have like a whole OneNote notebook, fully dedicated to what I wrote down during these 3 days. I have not gone back and looked at anything that I wrote since then. It's been like 2 years now. So I don't know, it would be fun to do like a live react to that. Maybe I'll do that eventually. It would be, I will look at it eventually for sure, because I want to see what level of delusion I was experiencing. Like, it definitely didn't feel like I was crazy or delusional while it was happening. So I would guess that there is some level of actual insight or wisdom in the things that I was writing down, but I won't know until I check. It is certainly possible that I'll go back and look and be like, oh, these observations are all like pretty mid. So that'll be an interesting time. I'm not gonna do that today. But yeah, it was like everything from, gosh, I can't even remember like what topics. It like ranged from like politics and culture and history to like science and health and interpersonal relationships and life fulfillment. And yeah, it was a lot. But so that was kind of like the clarity piece of just everything suddenly making sense, and just this like very, very like deep, visceral, emotional, felt sense of everything making sense. And then, yeah, the second component of gratitude, I felt such immense gratitude for everything that I had experienced thus far in my life, good and bad, and all of the people who had contributed to my life in some way, good and bad, because it just felt like everything that had ever happened to me was all necessary to get me to where I was at that moment, which felt like a really, really good place. And then the, like over top of all of that was just this overwhelming sense of like peace. Like it was like I simultaneously had a really powerful awareness of a lot of things that I did know and that did make sense, and also a powerful awareness of all of the things that I didn't yet know and would still remain to be found out over the course of my life. And that was okay. It was like this sense that no matter how things turn out for me, like life will be great and beautiful. And so yeah, I just felt like that for like 2 full days, two to 3 full days with like I said, it was kind of like started feeling a little bit that way, and then more and more and more and more, and then at the peak it was just like really, really intense, and then kind of tapered off back to roughly normal. And I got another one of those NAD infusions maybe like 2 months later or something like that, because I had bought like a package or something. That's not really relevant or important, but I got another one and I did not have the same effect. Maybe there was like a little tiny glimmer of what I now refer to as epiphanying, just that like mode of like feeling like I'm constantly having epiphanies about stuff. Maybe like a tiny bit of that, but not even really enough to class it in the same category of this first experience. So like to this day, I don't know what that was. I don't know why that was. My best guess is the same now as it was at the time, which is that it was like, or it's not even a best guess really, it's just more like what it felt like was happening at the time. Because as I was during the like few days leading up to this infusion, and even like while I was having the infusion, like during it, I was deep in some really intense conversations with a good friend of mine. And it was sort of an argument, sort of a debate, sort of a like a Socratic dialogue of sorts, where we had gotten down to a very foundational difference in how the two of us saw the world and approached the world and understood relationships, like interpersonal relationships. A lot of it was about relationships between people and the role of feelings and the role of subjectivity in such relationships. And this person and I, a lot of our friendship was based on arguing about stuff. So that was not that unusual, but this one was really like, I remember exerting so much mental energy into these conversations, because I don't know, it often took a lot of mental energy to have these arguments in the first place, because our styles of argumentation were kind of different, and it often took a lot of effort to make sure that goalposts weren't being shifted, or like we weren't getting off track or going off on tangents or like talking past each other or, you know, whatever the case may be. So yeah, there was just like, it just felt like so much. And like, in order to have this argument, I was really having to introspect really deeply and like tease apart how I actually saw and understood feelings and subjectivity and the role that they play in relationships. And like, there were other things we talked about too, but it's like, you know, it can be that particular topic can be very hard to talk about in a specific and rigorous way because relationships are kind of messy and contextual. So it was really forcing me to get at what my deepest underlying beliefs and convictions were surrounding that topic. I feel like I'm not doing a great job explaining this, but like doing a good job explaining it would really require just like sharing a lot more specifics that I just, you know, don't feel comfortable sharing because it was a personal conversation. But also, if you're wondering about the noise in the background, there is something happening outside and Finley's telling me about it. So yeah, what it felt like is that I was just like really like pushing at these like neural pathways of like trying to get clarity and trying to get understanding. And then I had this like infusion of this substance like right in the middle of all of this. Because like this conversation stretched over like 3 days, like 3 full days with the infusion on like the last day. I'm talking like texting back and forth the entire day, and then once we both got off of work, then talking on the phone about the same topic for like multiple hours, like 3 days in a row. So it was a lot. It was kind of intense. And yeah, then I get this infusion of stuff, and then it's like, it felt like all of these like brain pathways just kind of like busted open, and I had this like clarity about everything. So yeah, that's what it felt like. Certainly it wasn't just the NAD giving me this effect, because like I said, I had another one a couple months later, and then yet another one maybe like a year later, and it did not have the same effect. So some kind of weird perfect storm. And like I said, I still don't know to what extent this like epiphanying was like grounded in something real versus a kind of delusional state of I don't know, delusion. A delusional state of delusion. Really, really good on the descriptions today. But yeah, I have not felt that way since, which is probably for the best, because it was kind of overwhelming, and like I said, I wasn't really able to go about my normal life very well during that time, and I felt absolutely exhausted after. But I would not be mad about feeling a lower level. Oh my gosh, words. I would love to feel a portion of that more regularly, especially the gratitude and the peace, just like this deep conviction that everything has always worked out for the best, and everything is going to be beautiful and okay. I also wonder, like, if what I felt was most similar to like a manic state, or if it was more similar to what people experience on like different types of psychoactive drugs. I don't really know, because I've never tried them. At the time, I remember feeling some similarities to how I had heard people describe like LSD trips, obviously minus the like, you know, any kind of visual hallucinations or anything like that. But yeah, that's that's that story. I have not heard of anybody else having that experience with NAD. So if you have heard of that, please tell me. I would love to know. And yeah, feel free to knock yourself out hypothesizing about, you know, what that was in the comments if you feel like it. And yeah, talk to you tomorrow.